and welcome to the Slow Crafting Podcast. My name's Nadine and I'm coming to you today from the northwest of England near Manchester. I'm not even going to pretend I know what episode number this is. It's high 20s somewhere, I think. This is a podcast about slow fashion and trying to incorporate and slow living and trying to incorporate all my crafting into that. So knitting, spinning, sewing, crochet and any other fibre goodness that takes my fancy at the time. Now, for most of my other episodes so far this year, I've been talking about my 4 outfits that I've planned to make over the course of the year. But this episode is a little bit different because I'm going to talk about 2 projects that I've been making for other people. So they're not part of my four outfits. They are some selfless knitting. So I shall get on and talk about those. So first of all, we have the Blaster cardigan by Andy Satterland that I've knitted for my mum. I've knitted this out of some blue-faced Leicester wool from Woolly Knit, which is my local yarn store, but they do sell it on the internet as well. So I'll probably put a link to their online shop down below. But it's in a lovely baby blue colour and it's so soft. Really is lovely. Now a couple of months ago I did a review for Minerva Crafts of some blue-faced Leicester yarn by Erica Knight, and I have to say it's as soft and as beautiful to knit with as the Erica Knight wool. It's just not quite as shiny and as lustrous. It's slightly duller and it's in its appearance than the Erica Knight wool. I don't know if that's because it's on a paler colour. I haven't knitted with the darker shades of it. I just might have to buy some to test that out. Anyway, yes, but the wool, the yarn, I would thoroughly recommend. Like I say, it's a pleasure to knit with. It's affordable. It's British wool, and it's something that's not merino, which is always nice to be able to access. And as for the pattern, like I said, it's the Blaster cardigan by Andy Satterland. Now, I'm used to following sort of your more traditional old-fashioned British patterns, which are worked in pieces and then sewn together afterwards. I've only knitted a few garments that are seamless and top down, but this one was seamless, but a very unusual construction, I have to say, and may have been the cause of several headaches and lots and lots of ripping out and some sweater surgery as well. Now this isn't blocked yet, so this bit of collar here that keeps rolling backwards is really annoying me, but I wanted to get this recorded, so I left it unblocked because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to show you that it was still been wet. But yes, so for the cardigan, for this pattern, you start at the top shoulder and work the back section down to about the armpit level, and then you pick up from the top of the shoulders and knit down the front in 2 sections to the armpit level, and then you join it in the round, and then you don't join it in the round because you're still knitting backwards and forwards, but you join it underneath the arms and knit in one long bit rather than 3 sections. Now the reason it went horribly wrong is because when I joined it under the arm at one side, I'd got one of the front sections twisted, and I didn't really fancy ripping it all out again because I'd already ripped the front out about twice, I think. I don't think it was any particular fault of the pattern. I think it was my inability to concentrate knitting on a night time, being half asleep. But yes, so I thought, right, I don't want to rip it out. So, very bravely, I took a pair of scissors to my knitting, cut it at the top, just the row next to where I picked up the stitches. I then did untwisted it and did a 3 needle bind off. Well, picked up the stitches on the shoulder again and picked up the live stitches on the front section, and then did 3 needle bind off to close the shoulder seam again. And you can barely tell, I can because I'm looking at it, but you won't be able to when she's wearing it. There's, I think, a double row here, but she's got long hair. It's going to be covered up, it's going to be on her shoulder, nobody's going to really notice that. So yes, I mean the pattern was straightforward. The pattern repeat with the eyelet sections in it was easy to follow, and you could get into a rhythm. It was just picking up stitches and working backwards and then working forwards, and that was an interesting new technique. Now the shoulder, the arms, you pick those up and knit them as well, but you pick the stitches up and then you work short rows backwards and forwards to form the sleeve cap, which was something I hadn't done before either, and I really quite like it. It's certainly a lot nicer than sewing in set-in sleeves on a piece garment. So that was quite fun, and luckily the arms I didn't need to make any adjustments to. I just knitted them as per the pattern. But my mum isn't very pear shaped. She's got quite a small bust and an average size waist, so I did have to make some modifications to the sizing for the body, because the pattern has very distinct sizing. It is very hourglass shaped sizing, so quite a large bust going to a very small waist. So I think I took out three or more lots of waist decreases, which meant that I could add in 2 extra panels of the bottom detail. Sorry, I've got my eldest daughter is still awake, but I've got the monitor turned off. Well, it's on mute, but I can see that she's making a lot of noise, so I'm just trying to work out whether she's still singing or whether she's crying. I think she might be crying, so I might need to come back and talk to you about this in a minute. Just bear with me. Hello! And I'm back. Yes, she was crying, but she's alright now, and she's sat very quietly, very well behaved at the end of the settee while I record this. I think she wanted to have a watch and a nosy at what I was doing. So, right, where had I got to? Oh yes, I took out, in all honesty, I think it's more than 3 sets of waist shaping, because it would have gone down to a very small waist indeed for this cardigan. But like I said, it worked out with a little bit of fudging of stitch counts that I could add in 2 extra repeats on each side of the lace triangles. So yes, it's worked out really well. It fits my mum. She tried it on when she came up to see me. I've still got to block it, so it might give a bit more wiggle room in it. It's meant to be sort of fitted with negative ease, but it looks really nice, and she's planning on wearing it. She's got some 1950s style floral dresses that she wears a lot at the moment, and I think she's probably going to pair it up with some of those. Oh, the only other thing I wanted to show you was these buttons, because I ummed and ahed over what buttons to put with it for quite a while, because I didn't want anything too jazzy, because it's quite, she's going to be wearing it with quite a jazzy dress, so I thought I'd go with these ones. It was something my dad had said as well, that it needed a little sign on it, that it was, or label on it saying that it had been made with love. And then where is it? There you go. Handmade with love. I've got those from my local yarn shop as well, and they look like the wood, but I don't think they are. I think they're probably resin or something. So they'll stand up to being washed. I'm hoping she doesn't put it in the washing machine. I might have to stress the importance of not doing that. But I know my mum should probably only save it for best anyway, so it won't need washing all the time. But yes, so this is the Blaster cardigan by Andy Satterland, and it's worked out brilliantly, and I'd highly recommend the pattern. If you've not done top down seamless garments before, or even if you have, it's such an interesting and unusual construction that I think it's a good thing to try, to add a few new tricks to your knitting arsenal. Right, so that's the first project. The second project is the Ridari sweater by Verdis Jansdottir in Let Lopi. So, you're not going to be able to get it all in. I'll put some pictures at the end of the finished articles. So there's the colourwork yoke, and then it's got colourwork at the bottom and on the cuffs as well. Now, I didn't change a massive amount, if anything. Oh no, I think there was one bit I did change in this pattern. I knitted the second biggest size for you're taking the mickey at me because I keep saying so rude, heckled by my own child. So mean. Yes, it's the Let Lopi that I've knitted it in, and it's in dark grey. I can't remember what the names are, and the ball bands are somewhere, I think in the bedroom, and a sort of dark navy blue, a pale grey blue, and then sort of pale bright blue, if that makes sense. Which I've knitted this for my other half, Mark. It was part of his birthday present, was that I said, I'm going to knit you a jumper. I'm not sure he was entirely excited by the idea. I did let him pick which jumper he wanted. I think I gave him 2 or 3 Lopi Pacer sweaters to choose from, and he chose this one. I was like, yes, I wanted to knit that anyway. And then my eldest daughter picked the main colour, because he's such a fussy princess that I thought I need to get him involved in the choosing process. But he picked the main colour, and then my eldest daughter picked the contrasting colours, so the colours for the yolks and the rest of the colourwork. So I knitted it on the recommended needle size, apart from, what am I looking at?
I saw an aeroplane.
An aeroplane outside. You will do. Yes, apart from the colourwork, because when I do stranded colourwork, I'm really quite a tight knitter, so I think I went up from a 4.5 to a 5mm needle, and that the bottom bit I did on a 4.5 and it's a bit puckered, that it balanced out a lot better when I went up to a 5mm needle. And then the only thing that I actually changed was the neckline. It was supposed to, the bottom hem and the cuffs have this rolled stocking stitch border before the ribbing, and the neckline was supposed to have the ribbing and then the rolled stocking stitch edging as well. However, when I did that, I could not get it over my head for love nor money. So I ripped it back and just cast off it normally in rib, and it still wouldn't go over my head properly. So I ripped it back even further and did a stretchy bind off. The stretchy bind off I used was the one where you knit two, then put them back onto your left needle and then knit them through the back loop, and then carry on doing that to cast off, and that's made it a lot better and a lot stretchier. Now my other half has seen this and tried it on, and I was a bit worried because obviously it's let lope, it's quite a rustic, toothy wool, and yeah, he has got quite sensitive skin, so I was a bit worried that he would be too sensitive to wear it. So I'd made him a size up from what his body measurements would put him at, in the hope that there would be enough room in it for him to wear a long sleeve top underneath it, so just to put an extra barrier between his skin and the wool. But even though I've got gauge, it's still quite a tight fitting top on him. Now I've not blocked it yet, so that might add an extra little bit of width to it, but not a massive amount. Now he's used to wearing very oversized drop shoulder jumpers, and I don't think he actually owns that many knit jumpers either, whether commercially knit or hand knit. I think he's only got one other hand knit that I've made him, but all his other jumpers or sweaters do have a significant amount of positive ease in them. So when he tried this on, he was distinctly lackluster in his appreciation of it, which was a little bit off-putting after I'd spent such a long time knitting it for him. But I think it's just because it's a different silhouette and a different body shape for him, so that's going to take him some getting used to, as well as it being a more rustic wool that he's got to get his skin used to. I will condition him into wearing proper jumpers, but yes, he was a bit lackluster. So I'm hoping that once I've blocked it, and I was going to soak it in some conditioner to try and soften it up a bit, because I know I've heard other people say that when they've knitted things with let lope, they've soaked it in before they've blocked it. They've soaked it in a wash that's got some conditioner in it, just ordinary hair conditioner, and that's managed to soften it up a little bit. So fingers crossed that works, and hopefully he will wear it. But if he doesn't, I might claim it back and wear it myself, because it fits me. It fits me nicely and I quite like it, because obviously I like knitting blues, and I'm a lot more used to wearing the more homemade jumpers, yes, and more rustic
Jumpers.
wool. Stop finishing my sentences for me, especially when you're getting it wrong. That's not what I wanted to say. Oh dear me. Oh. Got the giggles now. You're a cheeky whopper.
Please.
so that they are my two Selfless. Oh, one of the things I was going to say about the Ridari sweater is that the instructions are quite scant. Now, considering that there's not a massive amount of shaping, I don't think there's any shaping in the body, and there's only a bit of shaping in the sleeves. You don't really need a massive amount of instructions because essentially it's just a very long section of stockinette for the main body. But the bit that there was an error in the chart for the colour work at the top. I think it didn't take into account your first
tiny wash.
Your first decrease. On the pattern, Ingrid, shush. Do no, because I'm going to talk absolute gibberish if you keep interrupting me. Right, yes, the first pattern repeat on your row isn't a complete one, it's one stitch off, because your last, just to make it tessellate, but they fail to take that into consideration when they're showing you the later decreases for the rest of the pattern. So I had to bear that in mind when I was knitting it. No. And the other thing that they didn't take into account was the armpit, because it's kitchenered under the arm. I'm just going to see if I can show you. I love you too, darling. Oh look, I can barely see it, it's so beautiful. Yes, it's kitchenered under the arm. Now you knit the body, and then you knit the arms, and then you join them together, and then you knit the yoke. But under the arms, for the body, you put so many stitches on a stitch holder, and then for the arms it just says join the arms on into your stitch count and gives you a number that would include the body minus the stitches that you've put on holders under the arms, but all the arms stitches, whereas really it needs a corresponding number of stitches from the arm tubes putting on stitch holders, so then you can do the kitchener of the two sets once you finish knitting the rest of the jumper. But if you do that, then you don't have the correct number of stitches for working the pattern repeat of the colour work. Got some feet growing out of my shoulder. So I had to fudge it and add in I think 2 extra stitches so that I could have the right number. So I could have the right number for the pattern repeat for the colour work. Absolutely bonkers. Right, so that's the blaster cardigan and the Ridari sweater. Like I say, I'd highly recommend both patterns, but just concentrate when you just concentrate when you're doing the blaster cardigan that you don't end up twisting things and not following the instructions properly. And for the Ridari, I'd say probably check out some of the pattern notes on Ravelry for completed projects, because I know the discrepancy in the stitch count for the colour work is noted in there. I don't think anybody had mentioned anything about the armhole stitches. So right, okay, we'll pick him up in a minute. But yes, other than that, it's it's quite straightforward. Right, on that note, I'm going to say goodbye, and I will hopefully see you in a couple of weeks' time to talk to you about the progress that I've made with outfit number 2 for the year. And if you, in the meantime, if you have any questions about either of these patterns or how I've been getting on, or just want to chat in general, then please feel free to do so and leave a comment in the box below. Alright then, thank you for watching. Goodbye.